Hi, everybody. So, in this lecture, we're going to be going over the basic drawing commands. In the last lecture, we'll go over the modify commands. So, um, in AutoCAD, there are tons of commands that one could use. This other handout that I've included with your um, assignment one package is a shortcut guide to pretty much all the different commands in AutoCAD. I want you to have this for your own reference. This is something that I got off the Autodesk website. But what I've done in the handout that I've created is sort of took this list, pared it down to what I think are the most important commands that you need to know, at least for creating the fundamental architectural drawings, plan, section, and elevation. Um, this lecture, we're going to go over these basic drawing commands here on this first section. And then in the last lecture for this assignment, I'll go through the rest. This first set of commands is kind of like how do we make something in AutoCAD? And then the next lecture, we'll go over the modify commands, which is how do we manipulate that information in AutoCAD? How do we move things, stretch things, copy things, mirror things, and scale things? Um, so let's start with the basic drawing commands. I'm going to go to AutoCAD. So by now you should have your CAD all set up. I'm going to go to start drawing and I'm going to check my units. I'm going to set those to architectural and hit OK. And then I'm going to turn on my grid, Control G, to have some sense of scale and where I am in my drawing. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this, save as, and I'm just going to call this file drawing. I've already created a file drawing because I was sort of practicing the commands before I record this lecture, but I'm just going to save over it. Hit save. Now, right away, it gives me that warning. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. Okay, so now we are in my new file. I can see it up here. It says drawing. And we're going to start. So for the basic drawing commands, we're pretty much going to be living in the Home tab under the Draw panel. And we're going to kind of be living right up here. Now, there's more commands in the Draw panel. If I hit that little down arrow, and let me do that one more time, and you can see those there. That goes for all of these different panels. You can always hit that little down arrow and see more. Okay, but we're going to start with just line and polyline. Those are the first two on the list. So if I click line up here, I can just, it says right by my cursor, it tells me what to do, or you can look down in the command line in the yellow there. It also tells you what to do. Now I'm going to move my command line up a little bit because I have something down here that tells me the, the recording software that I use to record my lectures has something there. And I'm not quite sure if you can see that, but I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to elevate this a little bit. If you can see it, ignore what I just said. But it says line specify first point. I'm just going to draw a line vertically. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to bring it down here. I can keep going right now. All these are different line segments. Okay, and I'm going to hit escape to stop. Now, if when you were drawing your line, your verticals were slightly tilted, your horizontals were slightly tilted, and they're not quite straight, what you might want to do is turn on this button down here. And we'll go over some more of these as we go through this, but this little guy right there is your polar tracking. I turn that off and start line again, L, enter. It doesn't quite snap to the horizontal and doesn't quite snap to the vertical. I like having that on so that when I start a line, snap to the horizontal, vertical, and sort of move on. Okay, so you saw when I was doing that I was using the button line and I also was just typing in line. So that is the quick command is L. So if I go back to the handout, I put the quick command right there behind each element that we're trying to draw. So L for line, PL for polyline. I can either hit the button or just type that. So L, enter, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so how do you draw a line at a specific distance? I'm going to do L, enter, start it somewhere. Say I want to draw that way 4 inches. 4 inches. And hit escape. Now I have perfectly a 4-inch line because I just selected it. I can check over here in my properties, length 4 inches. So that's line, pretty straightforward. I'm going to draw a polyline now. So I could click polyline or I could type PL. Enter. I can go and keep going just like I was with line. I could stop here. I could move my mouse to the right, type in 5 inches. I know this last segment's 5 inches, but this whole thing is connected as one line. And I know the distance, it says 1 foot because it's doing the 5 inches plus the rest of those squiggles. So that's what the difference between a polyline and a regular line is. Polyline is all connected. A regular line are separate elements that, say, I could delete, like that one right there. So I like to draw a lot in polylines because I like to have everything connected and clean. I think you'll find that it's really important to be very clean and organized in CAD. Okay, so let's move on to circle. Now, if you go over to circle here and you hit the down arrow, there's a plethora of different ways to draw a circle. You can play around with these. But I'm just going to go through center radius. So if I set it to center radius, I'm going to click once here in the mid, and that'll be my center point of the circle. And I can just define the radius, 1 inch. So try that again. This time I use the quick command of C, enter. This time I'm going to start my circle right here, and I'm going to do 1 inch. And 3 circles, right? And I'll do one more for you. I'll do center diameter. Start that one right here. And now I'm going to do 1 inch. Now it should be half the size because the diameter across the whole circle is 1 inch, not just the radius from the center to the edge. So that is the button for circle. I'm going to switch it back to center radius, and I'm just going to type in C, enter. And do the same thing. Let's do something here at the end of this line. Do 2 inch. So that's circle. Now, I was typing the command, I was pushing the button, but now the last command I did was circle. If I hit spacebar or enter again, they function exactly the same in CAD. So I'll just hit enter right now. It will always repeat my last command. It says, oh, you want to make another circle. Boom. I'll just do one right here. There we go. Okay. Hit spacebar. Oh, you want to do another circle. Okay. There and there. Just drew some circles, so you can always repeat your last command by just hitting enter or hitting the spacebar. Okay, that's circle. Next on our list is arc. Now, there again are many ways to draw an arc. Let's try this 3-point method. I'm going to pick, it says specify start point of arc, end point of arc, and then you can sort of give it a bend. Let's try that again. Start point, end point, and give it a bend. Do one more. There we go. I got a couple arcs over there. So the quick command for arc is A. Oh, how about that? Now I did put an example here, start end direction. Let's change the CAD arc command to that one instead of the 3-point. I'll put start end direction. And let's try it again. 1, 2. That's a kind of interesting. You can sort of play around with that. And I'm going to just click, and there we have an arc. So let's say I want to put an arc between this point and this point. I'm going to hit spacebar just to repeat that one again. Endpoint, endpoint, and then I can sort of just make sure that start end direction, endpoint, endpoint. There we go. There we go. Yeah, well, look at that. I'll do one here. See, it seems to be reverting back to the 3-point method. So I'm going to set it at start end direction again. Here, and then it seems to keep that one. A little strange for arc, but I have a much better way to do arcs, but I just wanted to show you that tool. Rarely will you do things sort of freehand unless it's sort of an art project in here. But in architecture, you're always going to be very precise. You're always going to give things dimension. You're going to give it length and things like that. So the arcs that I was just making were sort of on the fly, but you can just sort of play with that command and see how it sits with you. Okay, moving down the list, we have rectangle and polygon. So rectangle's quick command is rectang, and polygon's polygon. Or we can, of course, click the buttons. So let's go back to CAD. I'm going to pan to the left, so I'm going to push the third mouse button and sort of pan over a little bit there. And I'm going to go up to right here, rectangle. So if I click on the down arrow, polygon's kind of part of that command. So I'm going to hit rectangle, or part of where it's organized, at least on this draw panel. Specify first corner, specify next corner. Boom, we have a rectangle. So I'm going to repeat that one just by hitting spacebar. So I can always use 2 different points to draw that rectangle, just like I did there, or say right here. Go ahead and make a bunch of rectangles. So how would you make a rectangle of a certain size? So let's try that. So I'm going to just start typing rectangle, REC. There it is, REC says rectangle. Is that what you want to make? I can choose any one of these, but I know that I want to make a rectangle. So I don't have to write the whole thing. I can just wait till it appears and then click it. Okay, specify first corner. I'll just say right here, and I'll do right there, just like we did before, but now I'm going to try a little different. I'm going to type in rectangle. I'm going to say 3 feet, comma, 4, enter. Specify first corner. Boom. So that's a 3 foot by 4 foot rectangle. Let's try that again. I'll just delete it. I'm going to select it and hit delete. Let's make it smaller so it makes a little more sense. Let's do rectangle. Let's do, now I'm not going to click anything yet. I'm just going to say 4 inch, comma, make it obvious, 8 inch, enter. So here, now it wants me to place, oh, I don't like how that was. Let's try again. Specify first corner. I'm not going to do that yet. Let's see if this works. 2 inch, comma, 8 inch. Okay, so it's sort of placing it wherever I want. Let me. Okay, so here's the way to do it. So as you'll see me work through that there, this happens all the time. So I don't know, I didn't know the exact, like, what do you call it, order of operations to make that rectangle. That's fine. That's going to happen in CAD all the time, because you're going to be using commands that you're used to, and you'll do them like blind and sleeping, and you'll get right through them. But sometimes you just have to sort of work with the software, look at what it's telling you, and try to kind of feel your way through the command. So I'm going to type rectang again. I'm going to specify the first corner of where I want it to be placed. And then I'm going to say 2 inches, 8 inches, and hit enter. So there it did 2 inches, 8 inches. So it's doing the horizontal first and the vertical second. So if I want to do that again, I'll say rectangle, give it the first corner. I'll see 8 inch, 2 inch, and it'll go the other way. So that's how you do that. I'm going to move that. Well, I won't move things yet. I don't want to modify things, but there's that rectangle. Now, another way to draw that rectangle is with a polyline. PL, 2 inch, 8 inch, 2 inch, back to the start. More often than not, that's what I'm using. Usually just do the polyline over the rectangle tool. Let's switch to polygon right here. So I'm going to click polygon. It says enter number of sides. I'm going to put 10. Enter. Specify center of polygon. Now it says, do you want it inscribed in a circle or circumscribed about the circle? Let's keep it on inscribed in circle. I'm going to click that. And then it says, give me a radius. I'll say 1 foot. There's 10 sides. There's 10-sided polygon inscribed within a circle of a radius of 1 foot. So if I drew a circle, let's see if I can find the center of say radius 1 foot. There's that 10-sided polygon within a circle of 10 foot. So if I said circumscribed about a circle, it would be outside that. Do I ever use polygon for anything? Not really. Usually I'm drawing those from scratch using polyline or things like that. So let me go to that command one more time and let's do 6 sides. I'll do the center inscribed in a circle and I'll just click anywhere and there's a 6-sided polygon within that circle. Okay, that's polygon and rectangle. Okay, next is ellipse and then hatch. Okay, so ellipse, pretty straightforward. It's a couple methods to drawing an ellipse, but let's just keep it on this one. So it says specify the center of the ellipse, the end point of the ellipse, and then you sort of can move your mouse around and feel like how this is operating. So squishing it this way versus squishing it the long way or stretching it. I'll just type in 2 inches here and give it a distance. There's that method. That felt weird. Just go ahead and repeat that command. Yeah. So it's centered to the end. So it's kind of like radius in a way. Let's switch that one to axis and end. So I'm going to click once, again, and then I'm going to give it a height almost, or a thickness this way. So what's kind of nice about that one is, let me start that over, is I want the ellipse from the corner of this to the corner of this. I want it kind of elongated like that. So in this one, you're only working with half of it. In that other command, you're sort of working with the whole length of the ellipse. Do I use ellipse a lot? Not very much. But that's not that. I would say this axis end one is pretty useful to know. We could try this elliptical arc. Let's see what that does. Axis endpoint, specify another point, make your ellipse, and then it probably wants to, yeah, that's kind of neat. You're gonna have to play around with that one. You can draw as much of that ellipse as you want. So let's start that one over. Elliptical arc. So specify axis endpoint. Now I think it wants specify other endpoint of axis. I'll say over here. So I'm defining my whole ellipse. Boom, that's what I want. Now I'm going to just start. And now it's asking for another click. Specify start angle. start drawing it here and move my mouse around, it's drawing the whole thing. Hey, I want you to end at a specific angle or wherever I click. So I'll say 340. Yeah. Don't know how useful that would be, but still kind of cool. So here we've created a bunch of things here. I'm going to go back to my little list here and let's go to hatch. Now this is one you'll definitely use quite a bit. It's a little ornery of a command, but once we use it, especially in architectural floor plans, I'll show you how to sort of limit the quirky behavior that CAD sometimes does. Maybe they fixed it in 2020, but I doubt it. Okay, so let's just click on the little down arrow and let's just keep it on hatch. Okay, right away. Hold on. It's already being quirky. So I'm going to give it a second here. I'm going to try to get my mouse out of the way. So sometimes when you're showing your whole drawing like this and you're about to hatch something, it's sort of it needs to analyze your whole drawing. So what hatching is basically like shading or coloring. So basically what I could do is sort of shade in some of these different areas on my drawing. And okay, did it sort of quit that command? Okay, it's still in there. All right, I'm just gonna hit escape. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on this area. I want to hatch this area and I want to give it some color or some sort of pattern. So if I go up to hatch, oh, it's not liking hatch. Let me see here. I'm frozen out here. Might have to hold on that one. I'm not quite sure why that's happening, but instead of using the button, maybe I'll try the quick command and see if I can get a better response. Um, yours might work. You might get the hang of it right away. Where when you, let me see if I can. Okay, strange. Okay, I'm just gonna type in H for hatch, and doesn't seem to like it. Yeah. Okay. If it's working for you and you can click in that area and a whole shape appears, click it and that whole thing will be patterned in some way. Um, we'll definitely be getting into Hatch more and more lately. So I'm not too worried about it not working right now. I would say, if anything, they've gone backwards from 2019. But this happens. So we just have to sort of work with the software. But oh, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so I hit H for hatch, and then it opened up this hatch creation toolbar at the top, and you can see that looks different than the home ribbon that was there, tab that was there a second ago. So what it wants me to do now is pick an internal point. So this will be an internal point. That's an internal point. This right here isn't an internal point because it's open to my entire drawing. This is, so I could click that and I'll get that pattern in there. Okay, so I just clicked it. It should have put the pattern in there. It's sort of freaking out a little bit now, but as soon as it's done, I'm going to hit escape to get out of this, and then I can edit the pattern once it's in there. So we'll let it sort of time out as it has been doing. Let's see what happens. Hit escape a couple times so that may, okay. And we're out. Okay. Should not take that long. Hopefully we can rectify that as we move forward. Let's go ahead and just hit save right now. So there's a couple ways to hit save. So notice that was a reaction of me because it was started getting glitchy. It was like, hey, maybe I should save this. Probably a good idea because if it does it again and then it crashes or something like that, you at least have a good save point. So I could go up to the quick access toolbar right up here, just hit the little disk. Okay, so that saved it. Since we've already saved it before, it's just going to save over as drawing. Or I could go to the big A here and just hit save. Same thing. I'm doing exactly the same thing. Okay, so it's saved. And what I want to do is just click on this hatch that I just created. Okay, from there, it should open the hatch editor. Let's see what happens here. While it's doing that, I'm reading a really good book right now. This Hallowed Ground. This is all about Civil War. If you're interested in that, this was actually written in the 50s and by Bruce Catton. Anyway, here we go. So now what I could do is this is the pattern that it's on now. I could switch that to solid so that it's completely like an opaque sort of filling, if you will. I might change it back to ANS 131 and sort of being glitchy with me. So as predicted, it's kind of doing what I said it would do. Maybe I should have thought about that before I said it. But I'm going to go ahead and close this block editor. I want to get out of here. I don't want to mess with this glitchiness anymore. But if yours is working just fine, go ahead, select your hatch. Hit escape, so we're out of there. And then play around with some of those controls up there to see how it changes. So for example, I had those angled lines in there. You can make them tighter or further apart, things like that. In the meantime, I'll try to get that working before we really need to use it. But that's what Hatch does. Very useful tool. So where you're going to use that would be something like I have made a floor plan. I want to hatch my walls so they really pop in the drawing, and when I print it, they're really readable. So that would be a good, definitely a good tool to know and a good tool to use, assuming we can handle the glitchiness. Okay, two more line drawing objects, spline and construction line. Okay, so spline is, let's see, we have that up here. If I hit the draw button, let's see, spline fit, spline CV, construction line, and others. Okay, so let's click on spline fit, CV, control vertices. That's what that means. So what I'm doing is I'm just hovering over that button and just waiting for that little notation to sort of appear. So I'm going to hit spline fit, and now just play around. I'm just going to start clicking. Okay, and I'm going to hit escape to be done. Okay, don't hit escape to be done because it got rid of it right away. But let's try again. There we go. I bet it's hit enter. Boom, there it is. So hit enter instead of escape. If you hit escape, it's just going to go away. Now, if I click on that line, these, all those points that I clicked, the line goes directly through them, and I can manipulate that line after it's all done. Okay, very useful. Now, if I go back in there under the draw command and do control vertices, do the same thing, you can already see sort of what's happening. Hit enter. Okay, I'm going to click on that line again, and now I can pull down on those vertices some more. Why you would want to sort of use one or the other, I guess it just really depends on the sort of work that you're doing. But a really good way to make a nice kind of crazy curved line. So that is a super useful tool. Okay, so that's splines. The last one I want to show you in this video is construction line. Now, this will create, now if I hold it over, it tells you, this creates a line of infinite length. So say, for example, there's that little floor plan there. Say you need to line something up on this side of the drawing to this side of the drawing. Or you have to line something up over here to something over here. You want to make sure that you have that just perfect. put a construction line that goes all the way across that way, or put a construction line that goes vertically, whatever you need. Now, it's always good to also put construction lines on a different sort of layer, which we'll get into, to sort of, so you can turn those off at the end of the project, because you don't actually want to print those. You just want to use those for reference. So I could go over here and click construction line. So I'm going to click that. It says specify a point, or that's what it says in the command line. Now I'm going to show you what those mean. So I'm just going to click like right here, and I'm going to snap vertical and then hit escape. So I have a vertical line that goes all the way up. Now I'm going to do the same command. Click somewhere, and I'm going to snap somewhere horizontal. Now I have one going the entire length that way. Now here's how I use it. The quick command for a construction line is XL. I believe, unless they changed it. Let's see. XL, yeah, it's XL. But let's check up here. Yeah, X line. Okay, let's type in X line. Okay, specify a point. If you look on your command, it says specify a point, or HOR with a capital H, VER with a capital V, and some other ones. So I'm just going to type in the capitalized letter. So I'm going to type in H for horizontal, and it'll give me a horizontal one, and I can place it wherever I want. Okay, so let's do that again. X line. I'll type in V for vertical, and I'll put it there. I'll put one there. I'll put one here. I'll put one here. I'll do it again. X line. H for horizontal. Put one here. Put one here, here. Okay, you can see how quickly your drawing can get insane. So if I click X line, enter, and you see those different words in those brackets, if you want to use one of those, just type in the capitalized letter. So for me, I only really use horizontal and vertical ones. Angular, let's see what happens. I'm going to type in A. I don't use this one very often, so let's work our way through it. It says enter angle of X line. Okay, 30. There's a 30-degree reference angle construction line. X line. Bisect B. See what that does. Specify angle vertex point. Right there. Specify angle start point. Right here. Okay, so I see I can say start your line on here, draw it to here, and then let me spin it where I want it. Boom, there we go. Ooh, that one doesn't seem very useful to me, although it might be if you become a pro at using that particular one. But I think the two bigger ones that you have to keep in your mind, X line H, X line V. So that would be, so let's just do X line H, boom, boom, boom. So I'm not even I'm not even looking at my screen. I'm just writing X line, enter, H, enter. It's getting crazy. Let me delete some of these. So one thing you just watched me do there is I made a selection box. I have no command in here going from bottom right to upper left. See, I clicked once. Anywhere that box goes over, intersects that box in any way. I'll do the ellipse a little bit there. So nothing is contained in that box. Those lines aren't totally within that box. That ellipse isn't totally within that box, but they are crossing that box. So if I click, it'll select those lines, and I'll hit delete. Now, take this line here. If I do upper left to bottom right, everything that's within the box will only get deleted, not crosses the box. So I'll make a box from upper left to bottom right. Only the ellipse will get selected. I'll hit delete. But if I did the same box from bottom right to upper left, whatever crosses that box gets selected, hit delete. I'll tell you, I pretty much always use bottom right to upper left. So I want to select all this stuff. I'm just going to go like that, hit delete, go like that, hit delete. Okay, get rid of this guy, hit delete. So that way I don't have to encircle the whole thing just like that, because then you might grab something else that you didn't want. Okay, that's slightly more of a modified tool, but just to help you along, that's what that means. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. And then I'm just gonna double check my, yeah, that's good. So those are your basic drawing commands. This is where the real fun starts happening. So let's stop here, and I'll start the new video and we'll go over the modify commands, which are super useful. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and